We ready? Good afternoon. I'm Mike Merrill, County Administrator for Hillsborough County. Thank you for being here. This is our second press conference for the day. We started this morning at 10 a.m. giving you a briefing. This will just catch you up on events since then. As you can see, I have a number of our government partners here and community partners who all will have a message for you, and I'll be introducing them as we go along. So as you know, this morning, Hillsborough County did issue a mandatory evacuation for Zone A. The county has opened general population shelters for residents in evacuation Zone A, as well as residents whose homes are vulnerable to storm surge and flooding. In addition, those residents who are living in manufactured homes, which are susceptible to wind damage, need to be going to those shelters. We have not issued a mandatory evacuation for Zone B. However, we do strongly urge people to consider their circumstances, and if they are not in a safe place, they need to get to a shelter. This is going to be a major event, a major wind event, possible storm, not possible storm surge, significant storm surge. So for those in Zone B, evaluate your circumstances, be safe, and make the choice to go to a shelter than take a risk. According to the National Weather Service, we can begin to expect tropical storm force winds anywhere between noon and 2 p.m. tomorrow, Sunday. We could expect hurricane force winds to begin at approximately 8 p.m. Sunday morning. We have been preparing here at the Emergency Operations Center now for a number of days. Beginning tomorrow morning, we are going to pull back folks off the roads so that they are safe, and residents would be advised to do the same. So we will have storm surge. The question right now is whether or not the system will move far enough into the Gulf. The latest models have a high level of confidence that that won't happen, but as we've seen with this storm, anything can happen. So now's the time to finish your preparation for the storm and take shelter. There's no need to wait. There's no reason to wait. You just need to do it. All emergency responder agencies and our partners are working around the clock to prepare and respond to the storm. So just to recap quickly of some of the statistics, we've got 388 residents transported to special needs shelters by Sunshine Line, Hillsborough County Public Schools, HART, AmeriCare, and TransCare. We've had more than 1.3 million page views on our website, hcflgov.net, seeking hurricane-related information. We've done a number of social media contacts of more than 40,000 people. We are also seeing activity from all over the county on Nextdoor. We've got 9,226 evacuees housed at emergency shelters at this time. That's obviously going to increase before tomorrow. We are ready at shelters. We have, I think at this point, 15 or 16, perhaps 17 shelters ready to go and staffed, in addition to the special needs shelters. So with that, I'm going to begin by asking Commissioner Stacy White, who's chair of the County Commission, to come up and make a few comments, if you would, please.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Stacy White, chairman of the Hillsborough County Commission. Mike, I just want to first thank you and your team. I know that you're working diligently day and night throughout this emergency situation. Obviously, Hillsborough County Fire Rescue falls under your purview, so I want to extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to those first responders. We have our newly appointed sheriff, Chad Chronister, here with us. We also have multiple municipal and agency police departments and fire departments that are working diligently. So I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of those first responders as well. Although there was a last-minute change in the forecasted track, the county, its partners, and especially our residents are prepared for Irma's arrival. We train and practice for these events year-round, and we're seeing today that this is paying off. I also wanted to share with you that the deadline is upon us to finish your preparations in collecting and packing your essential items. On its current forecasted track, tropical force winds are predicted to begin in our area tomorrow at approximately 2 p.m., and as we just heard, perhaps a couple of hours earlier. What's important for our viewers in the immediate future is to take measures to protect life throughout this storm. Make sure that you've executed your plan and that you're hunkered down in your home or shelter, or that you've completely evacuated the area. It's important for everyone to know that if you do need to evacuate, do not delay. Now is the time for your own safety and for those of your loved ones. I just can't stress enough that our team stands prepared to take care of issues with property and other needs. But right now, in the immediate future, please take measures to protect yourself, your neighbors, and your loved ones. As a reminder, a local state of emergency remains in effect in Hillsborough County in response to Hurricane Irma. The Emergency Policy Group declared the state of emergency on Wednesday. Under the executive order, the county administrator carries out all emergency responsibilities delegated to the EPG throughout Hillsborough County. And that includes the incorporated areas of Tampa, Temple Terrace, and Plant City as well. I've also been personally contacted by Governor Rick Scott and Senator Marco Rubio. They have both assured me that both the state and federal government stand prepared to step in and help us in any way possible in the aftermath of that storm. So just understand that we have a lot of support out there. But again, I can't stress enough, for the immediate future, the thing to do is to prepare for your safety, for the safety of your loved ones. I know that in times of crisis, it's often hard to know who to go to and who to listen to for guidance. As chairman of the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners, I can say unequivocally that we are here to serve you. In terms of where residents can go to get vital information, and that would include information on shelters. I've recently been told, for those of you in eastern Hillsborough County, that a couple of shelters are being opened in Plant City. But if you need any information on where to find shelters, help with evacuation plans, help on whether or not you live in a zone that's going to be impacted by evacuations, county services, anything at all, I'm going to urge you to visit, and this should be on the screen behind me. I'm going to urge you to visit hcflgov.net/stay safe. That's hcflgov.net/stay safe, or you can call 813-272-5900. That's 813-272-5900. We have literally a room full of folks next door in the call center that are ready to take your call and get you the information that you need. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and the Nextdoor app, and search for Hillsborough FL on those platforms. Thank you very much. God bless you, and stay safe.
Thank you, Chairman White. At this time, Sandra Merman, Commissioner Sandra Merman, Vice Chair of the County Commission.
Thank you, Mike, and I want to just say, echo our chairman, Commissioner White, his comments. I think the most important thing, I am personally affected by this, and I do have to evacuate, and I have been talking to my neighbors, and a lot of people are staying put. That is scary. They think they can tough this out. Storm surge is real. I think it's, do you run from the water and hide from the wind, whatever, it might be backwards.
That's correct.
Run from the water? Well, you better run from this water, because if that storm surge hits 6 to 9 feet, I know I'm going to have 6 feet in my house. So please heed the warnings. Go on whatever our contacts here, find out the latest information if you're unsure. But I know our staff is working so hard. Communication is so important right now. Social media has never been more important than it is during this hurricane situation. They've said it's the only way people are really communicating is by Facebook and Twitter. So please stay safe. Our staff, I do want to thank, like Mike, our county administrator, Mike Merrill, Preston Cook, our emergency operations director. They are working night and day. Their eyes are weary, but they are so strong, and they are really putting forth the most superb effort I've ever seen of any team, and get out in front of this storm and be totally, totally prepared. So I urge all the residents out there, please, don't be like me. I thought I could tough it out too, but this is not something to fool around with. You have to go. And please heed the warnings. Can't say it enough. Anything over a Category 1 is going to have serious damage to personal property. We hope not human life, but we're going to be ready to tackle every problem and give assistance wherever possible. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Merman. This time we have Sheriff Chad Chronister here to give you an update from the Sheriff's Office. Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Merrill. We have significantly increased our patrol activity out in the neighborhoods. We are there to help people evacuate. We have a great plan, a strategic plan in place. Our assets have been strategically placed around the county, as well as our personnel. Our personnel have kissed their loved ones goodbye, got them to safety, and they are in for the duration until after the storm, and then we are able to get them some relief. So we have a plan in place. We have a great, and we are confident in the hurricane plan that we have in place. Now it is time for our community to execute their hurricane action plan. This is not a test. We are going to be significantly affected by this storm. So please, if you live in one of these evac zones or in a manufactured home, please find a friend's residence, a relative's residence, or one of the shelters, and you can go to hillsboroughcounty.org. They've been doing a great job about keeping them updated, which shelters are full, which ones aren't. But execute your plan. If I have to say one thing, this is the time to take action. We are all going to be affected. Do not delay. Realize the time's going to come where the winds are going to hit a threshold and your sheriff's office is not going to be able to come help you. We're not going to be able to put those deputies in harm's way. And it keeps shifting with the speed of the storm, shifting and slowing and then speeding up, shifting left, shifting to the west or east. So it was 7 a.m. Now it's going closer to 12 p.m. tomorrow. But realize that threshold is going to come. It's going to come rather quickly. And we're not going to be able to get to you to help you. We want to, but we can't risk injuring and life to our own deputies. So please, the time to take action is now. I have to thank all our local leaders here today. Governor Scott's office has continued to call. We've been in constant contact. The resources and the gracious offers have been overwhelming. So thank you to all of you. But we are here for you. And lastly, don't worry about your personal belongings. If you're staying at home because you're worried about your home, that's our job. Let us worry about that. And God forbid something happen. We have to replace your belonging. We'll help you do that. But we can't replace you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Chronister. I'm very happy to have Gordon Gillette here from TICO, president of TICO, to update us on steps you're taking.
Thank you, Mike. Commissioner White talked a little bit about the preparedness of the county, and we're hearing that the county is very prepared. Tampa Electric, your electric company, is prepared as well for an event like this. We've practiced events like this. We've lived through events like this in 2004 with Hurricanes Francis and Jean and Charlie. We have been doing a lot of scenario planning, And all week long, we've planned conservatively for a Category 3 event. And in the light of that, we have been resourcing ahead of time for the storm. Normally, there are about 350 line and tree trim workers working on our system. We started early this week, bringing 2,000 additional line and tree trim workers into our service territory. Right now, 1,300 of those workers are rolling towards Tampa Electric and our service territory, and we are setting up 5 incident bases for those workers. With the change in the track of the storm, our estimates have changed in terms of what's going to be happening post-storm. And I'm going to talk post-storm for a second, then I'm going to talk pre-storm. Post-storm, as we were planning for a Category 3 event up the state, we were planning for having as many as 200,000 customers out, which would be approximately 35% of Tampa Electric's total customer base. With the new track of the storm and the higher winds that are expected in the Tampa Electric service territory, we're expecting now that we could have post-storm as many as 300 to 500,000 customers out of our 700,000 customers post-storm, which would mean about 45 to 70% of our customers would experience outages post-storm. At this point, in light of that, we've upped our resource needs, and we are now in the process of bringing in upwards of 6,000 additional workers to help make reparations post-storm and get the power back on as quickly as possible. Now let's talk a little bit about pre-storm for a second. We're planning very carefully. Obviously, we do this every day, looking at the supply that we have of power plants to serve our customers and the demand that we have on our system. And we believe that between now and the time that the peak of the storm comes, which will be late Sunday night, we have enough supply to meet the demand. But there are a couple of things that we want to warn our customers of in our service territory. One is that with flooding, there may be substations that are flooded. And as a result of that, we may have to bring whole substations down. So there could be outages even before the peak of the storm because of that. The other thing that we're looking at is we are going to have to bring some of our power plants, if we experience very high wind conditions, down to a controlled stop. And in doing it, it takes 4 to 8 hours. And so as a result, some of our power supply, the total generation that we have on our system, will be coming down in order for us to bring that generation back as quickly as we can pre-storm. We have a lot of contingency plans for this type of event. We have customers that are interruptible on our system. We have things like public stores that can start up their backup generators, those kinds of things. So we've got a lot of contingency plans in place. But there is a slim possibility that as we bring the power plants down, we would have to go to rotating blackouts, which would mean that potentially every 15 minutes, there would be an interruption of service to varying areas of the service territory. If that comes to pass, what we're asking customers to do is this. We're going to have our customer service offices manned 24/7, and so we will be available to take calls, but we would ask customers that only if you experience an outage longer than 15 minutes pre-storm to call. I would say post-storm, in terms of what customers should be thinking about, is if your power is out, first of all, you can go to our outage map, which is at tampaelectric.com/outage map. And you can see if we've already tagged your area for having an outage. That means we know that there's an outage there, and that means that we're going to get to you as quickly as possible. If your neighborhood is not identified on the outage map as being out, though, we do ask that you call our customer services people so that we can log your outage and get to you as quickly as possible. We'll also be on Twitter, and Sherry, that's at Tampa Electric or hashtag Tampa Electric. And so you can watch the Twitter feed as well. The last thing I would like to do is talk a little bit about safety. specifically electrical safety. Please stay away from down power lines. Call the sheriff, call 911. If you see a down power line, don't go anywhere near. Remember to stay out of standing water because there is a possibility that that water can be energized with electricity. And on backup generators, if you haven't had an electrician come to your house, run extension cords from your generator. Don't hook it into your house power because it can backfeed into the system. And also with portable generators, make sure they're outside and don't have them indoors because their exhaust obviously can be very dangerous. That's all I have to report. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thanks so much, Gordon. I'd like our Fire Chief Jones to come up for just a moment and talk about their preparations because it's going to be key immediately after the event when he can get folks on the street. So Chief Jones, please.
Want to just let you know that your fire rescue has been very busy for the last several days, and especially today. We have, like many of you, our fire stations are also in evacuation zones, and we have had to evacuate several of our stations because they are in evacuation level A. Those stations were relocated to higher ground. Those apparatus are still available. Immediately following the storm, we will be prepared to leave, but as Sheriff Cronster said, there will become a time during the storm when we will be unable to respond due to the high winds and the danger to the responding crews. That message will be given out when you call 911, and as soon as we're able to respond again, we will be back on the road. I want you to know that we are calling in all off-duty personnel. We will have all 3 shifts will be in the station ready to respond as soon as the hurricane passes by. We will be staffing every available apparatus. We have multiplied our force. We've put additional engines, rescues, and special response teams on the street. We will be ready to respond as soon as the storm passes. And again, based on what we see, we'll determine how quickly we can get to you. I want to urge you, if you are in evacuation level A, you should have already left. We have left and moved our people to high ground. And we have also made sure that our families, as the sheriff also mentioned, have been placed in a position of safety or went to shelters themselves. I want to encourage you to exercise your plan. This is not a time to play around. This is for real. And please take heed to what the emergency management and the professionals are telling you to do. Evacuate now so that we don't have to come and rescue you later. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. At this time, I'd like to ask Catherine Egan, CEO of HART, to come up and talk about the good work they're doing.
Well, good afternoon, good evening. I will jump in on the point that we're all stressing. If you want to go somewhere, let us take you somewhere safely right now. Do not delay. We do not know what the weather will be like tomorrow. We cannot guarantee that you will have a bus tomorrow. At this point, we are planning to run our buses today until at least sunset and get folks into shelters. Many shelters are at capacity. HART routes are diverting that are on the evacuation map from shelters at capacity to get folks to shelter where we know there is capacity. If you get on a HART bus, we will get you to a shelter. You can wave the bus down. There is no fare. If you would like to go somewhere along there that is your place out of harm's way and is not an evacuation location, we will drop you off there. If you get on our bus today, we will get you to safety. We will come back for you when the roads are clear and it is safe to get you again. Do not plan on us tomorrow. With the wind, we cannot guarantee. Our folks have to get home to safety too. My husband and my boys are in an emergency shelter right now. I urge you, if you are thinking about this, to do the same. Let us be there to take you safely. You can follow us on social media. Mine is Ms_Egan. We have Go HART on Twitter as well and Facebook. We'll give you information, but let us get you to safety today. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And we also have Superintendent Jeff Eakins of the Hillsborough County School District here. Jeff, please.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, any other time of the year we'd be meeting the educational needs of the children in this community. But when times like these come, we are here to support the needs of this entire community, and we're glad to do that. With that, we have 42 of our schools are either open or ready to open to become shelters across this community, serving thousands of our families, and we are glad to do that. I'm so proud of our principals, our custodial staff, our student nutrition managers, and all the other staff, our bus drivers who are out picking up families out in our community to bring them to the shelters. They're doing a great job, and we will continue to do this until the end of this event. That being said, we have gone ahead and closed schools through Tuesday. We will reassess after the storm. Obviously, we know the shelters will still need to be used until a time by which people can return to their homes safely, so we understand that. We just ask the community to understand that as well. So far out there in our schools, we are serving almost 30,000 meals a day. We're serving thousands of families, and we are glad to continue to do that to support the needs of this community and support any of the actions here at the EOC that are made. I do want to say, because this is a very anxiety-filled situation for adults, I can only imagine what it's like for our children right now across the community. So I asked the families to go on our website, Hillsborough County Public Schools website. We have resources on there for families to please use those with your children. Get them through this storm safely, and then we will be there to take care of their needs educationally when we're back up here in Hillsborough County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. And before I bring Preston Cook up to give you more of the details, we do have State Attorney Andrew Warren here. And Andrew, I'd like you to come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Public safety is the top priority of the State Attorney's Office, and public safety will remain the top priority through the storm. We've been coordinating throughout the week with Sheriff Chronister, Sheriff G, Chief Dugan, and all our law enforcement partners to make sure we're on the same page about how we're responding with criminal justice situations, not only for crimes that are being committed, but to make sure that our first responders aren't unnecessarily exposing themselves to any harm. Over the past 2 days, I've been reminded of a saying that but for our struggles, we will not know our strength. The strength of this community has been shown not only by the preparedness of our local government, by the cooperation of law enforcement, but perhaps most importantly, by the sight of neighbor helping neighbor prepare for what's going to be a massive and dangerous storm. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As you've heard, we're all together in this endeavor. We're working together, we're partnering together, just to make sure that we as a community are doing everything that we possibly can to make sure that we are in the right posture, leaning forward and making sure that we're doing everything to take care of the citizens in this community. But it's our citizens' time now to step up as well, to take their part, to do their part, to make sure that they're taking those actions that we're talking about up here to make sure that their families are safe. We've opened a tremendous amount of shelters. We started with the special needs shelters as we called for a mandatory evacuation yesterday for level A. And there has been some questions about what the evacuation zone is, and I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like here in a second, and flood zones. But if you're in level A, evacuation zone, and your special needs person that's registered with us at this point in time, you should be in one of our special needs shelters. They are coming and getting to capacity, and so the time is really running short for you to do that. We're still looking to expand as necessary all the shelters to include possibly another special needs shelter because we are getting to capacity. But I want to talk a little bit about the areas that we've called for the evacuation for. We call for level A. On this map, as you see, anything in red in the Bay Area here around our entire coast, that is level A. Those are the folks that we're asking to leave because we are expecting possibly 5 to 9 feet of storm surge in this particular area if this storm continues on its path, and it could be higher. And that's why we've mentioned to make sure that even if you're in level B, that you take the precautions that are necessary for you and your family to be safe. I want to mention about flood zones because we keep getting the questions, am I in a flood zone? Should I leave if I'm in a flood zone? Surge zones are not flood zones. They are the wind-driven rain that pushes this water very fast on the shore. But when we think of flood zones, we're talking about areas along our rivers and areas that are known to flood. If you know, and if you live in one of those areas, and we're expecting 10 to 12 inches of rain possibly, and even higher amounts, you need to be thinking about getting higher ground as well. Okay, but the entire area of level A, evacuation zone in our county, we're asking everyone to leave now. We gave the time frames from 8 a.m. this morning to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. We wanted to give ourselves enough time. Well, I will tell you this, we open up those initial shelters, and as we said, we will continue to do so. Well, we've seen a need to do so because those shelters are beginning to fill up. If you're going to go to a shelter, the time is now to go. And as we continue with this process, we know we get closer to tomorrow morning. Don't wait until the last minute, go now. We're continuing to work together. The partnerships that we're talking about here, from the school board, the American Red Cross, the law enforcement agencies, fire rescue, all of the folks that are working in this room behind us right now, working 24 hours a day, just to make sure that we're doing everything that we can. We're doing all that we can, but the citizens have to do their part. There's going to become a time where we're going to pull the trigger and say, we cannot go out anymore. You've heard that. Take it serious. This is real. This is not a drill. We need to make sure that we're in the right posture. So with that, Mike.
So at this time, we'll open it up for any questions you have.
We've had many viewers call in about shelters reaching capacity. I know you said there is space for more. Do you have a number of how many are at capacity when you're going to make the decision to open more?
Preston probably has the details on that.
That number is changing rapidly, as I said before. We started with 14 shelters. Now we're going up to at least 42, as you heard the superintendent say. And the reason for that is because people are we're glad that they're taking advantage of them, and they're going to shelters. But we can go to our website, and that number is updated as these numbers come in. You can get those numbers regularly. We encourage you to do so. But the thing is, if you need to go to a shelter, you need to be doing it now, no matter what we're looking at in terms of numbers. We're making sure that we have enough shelters open for our residents. But not everyone needs to go to a shelter. Not everyone needs to go hundreds of miles. Okay, you need to get out of the surge zone, get out of the area that we're talking about that could cause the most harm, and get inland into this county somewhere, family, friend's home, hotel if you still can. But you need to do it now. But you can go to the website, hcfl.gov.net/stay safe, and you can get that information for the shelters.
And does that 42 include the special needs shelters, and will they be opening a third special needs shelter?
We are, absolutely, they do include the special needs shelters. We are planning right now, we have planned from the beginning to open another special needs shelter if we needed to. Those plans are in the process right now. I will tell you this, that the Sundome is at capacity right now. And Strawberry Crest is getting pretty full right now. So yes, we are prepared to open a third shelter. We're just waiting to pull the trigger at the right time to make sure that we have everything in place. We also, again, that's just like with the other shelters that we've opened. We're making sure that we have the resources in place before we ask people to go to those shelters. Again, folks in level A, mandatory, those that need to seek safe shelter somewhere, and it doesn't mean at a shelter, it means safe locations for the wind, away from the rain, and we're away from the storm surge. You need to be getting to those locations now.
For Mr. Gillette, what threats are you seeing to those plants, if any, and what safeguards are in place to protect them?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What threats are you seeing to those plants, if any, and what safeguards are in place to protect them?
Okay, at this point, we have two of our plants that are on the coast, our Bayside plant and our Big Bend plant. Both of those plants have storm doors that we can put up that give us another about 9 feet if there's a storm surge. So both of those plants are about 9 feet mean sea level, and we add an additional 9 feet, so we've got about 18 feet before the plants would become flooded. And with the current storm surge protection or projections, we're expecting that we'll be okay. But as you can expect, we're going to have some personnel in those plants that are going to be working some very long hours and are going to essentially be living at the plant through the peak of the storm.
You talked about substations possibly being flooded and causing possible rolling blackouts. Are you going to let us know if that's happening, or how would we know what's going on at that point?
Yes. We will be communicating very regularly through both our website and on Twitter, and through the media, obviously. And if we do expect to have to go into that every 15-minute rolling scenario that I talked about, we will announce that ahead of time. It could start as early as tonight. It's more likely that that would be in the morning, all the way up to the time of the peak of the storm, which is expected to be about midnight to 1 o'clock Sunday night, Monday morning.
Has it been announced if schools will be canceled on Tuesday? Okay, no class Tuesday. How about Wednesday? Do we know yet?
We have not announced that yet. As soon as the storm passes through, we'll have to do an assessment of all of our sites. Of course, shelters have to potentially remain open. If that's the case, then we will have to make that announcement at that point in time.
Anybody else? Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much for being here. Be safe.